In families across the world, a silent and painful pattern unfolds between mothers and sons. A once tender, loving bond becomes strained, punctuated by distance, resentment, and even cruelty. Mothers feel heartbroken and confused. Sons feel trapped and misunderstood. Why does this happen? Why would a son hurt the very woman who nurtured him, who gave him life and unconditional love? The answer, according to Carl Jung's timeless psychological insights, lies deep within the human psyche. It's not merely about individual behavior or modern family stress. It's about unconscious forces, inner battles, and ancient archetypes. At the heart of this complex dynamic are Jung's concepts of the mother complex, the shadow, projection, and individuation. These forces, when left unexamined, turn the sacred mother-son relationship into a battlefield. But Jung also believed in healing, in using these very wounds as pathways to transformation. This video unpacks the 4 psychological secrets behind why sons hurt their mothers, using Jungian thought and real-life stories. And more importantly, it offers practical steps for both mothers and sons to heal and grow, together and apart. 1. The mother complex, when love becomes a chain. Carl Jung described the mother not just as a person, but as an archetype, an eternal symbol of life, comfort, protection, and dependence. From the moment a son is born, his relationship with his mother becomes the foundation of his emotional world. She is the first person to soothe his cries, to feed him, to protect him from danger. Her presence creates a sense of safety and identity. But as the son grows, this once comforting bond can feel suffocating. The mother who once represented warmth and support begins to reflect back his deepest vulnerabilities: neediness, fear, and dependence. Jung called this the mother complex, a mix of love, guilt, rebellion, and unresolved longing. For a son, it's not just a memory of being nurtured, it's a reminder of a self he's trying to escape, the boy who needed his mother for everything. Take Mark, a 35-year-old professional who becomes irritable every time his mother Linda checks in. Her questions, "Are you eating?" or "How's work?" trigger him. They feel like accusations, even though they are acts of love. He snaps at her, "Mom, stop hovering. I'm not a kid anymore." But his reaction isn't about the questions. It's about his internal struggle to break free from a role he feels bound to. When a son lashes out at his mother, it is often a misguided attempt to assert his independence. He's not rejecting her, but the version of himself that feels weak, small, or overly dependent. 2. The shadow, fighting the pain he can't face. Jung defined the shadow as the part of the psyche that contains all the emotions, desires, and traits we disown, often the parts we feel ashamed of or fear. For many sons, the shadow holds the unresolved pain of feeling not enough, of needing love and fearing rejection, of being emotionally fragile in a society that demands strength. This pain often gets buried under defensiveness and aggression. When the shadow is triggered, often by a mother's care, it surfaces as anger or withdrawal. Hurting his mother becomes a subconscious way to hurt the parts of himself he cannot confront. In Mark's case, snapping at his mother isn't just frustration. It's shadow work gone unconscious. Every sharp word he speaks wounds not just her, but himself. Because, Jung argued, the mother is not just external, she lives inside a man's psyche. Rejecting her is, in a way, rejecting part of himself. Healing begins with awareness. For a son, journaling can be a powerful first step. Why did her text upset me? What am I really feeling? For mothers, it's about understanding that the rejection may not be personal, but psychological. Giving space can be a radical act of love. 3rd, projection, when inner wounds are cast onto the mother. Projection is a defense mechanism Jung described as the mind's way of offloading inner pain by blaming others. We project what we can't face in ourselves onto the people around us. For sons, mothers often become the most convenient and potent target. Take John, a 28-year-old graphic designer. Outwardly confident, he inwardly feels insecure about his career. When his mother Sarah texts, "Did you get that promotion?" it ignites his fear of failure. Rather than confronting his self-doubt, he lashes out at her. "Why do you always pressure me?" Her love becomes a trigger for his hidden insecurities. This is the tragedy of projection. The person we love most becomes the canvas for our deepest fears. Jung wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." In John's case, his irritation was not about his mother's words. It was about his own shadow whispering, "You're not enough." Mothers can also project, often stemming from their own fear of being obsolete. When Sarah texted daily, it wasn't just care. It was a way to soothe her fear of being left behind. Awareness on both sides is the key to breaking the loop. Studies show that mindfulness and journaling can reduce conflict in relationships by up to 30%. 4. Individuation. The painful path to becoming a man. One of Jung's central teachings is individuation, the process of becoming your true, autonomous self, separate from the family and societal roles assigned at birth. This is especially crucial for sons who must separate from the emotional safety of the mother in order to become independent men. But individuation is painful. It often feels like betrayal, like rejecting the very person who gave life. Sons like David, who snapped at his mother Ellen after she sent him a care package, aren't expressing hatred. They're clumsily carving out independence. David wasn't angry at Ellen. He was afraid. What if I can't make it on my own? That fear, buried under pride, emerged as rejection. For Ellen, the pain of being pushed away triggered her own identity crisis. If she's no longer the caregiver, who is she? This mutual struggle can become a destructive cycle, but it can also be transformed. The first step is honest communication. David might say, "I need space, but I love you." Ellen might say, "I trust the man you're becoming. I'm here when you need me." These simple affirmations honor both autonomy and connection. Psychological studies support this approach. Empathy-based communication can reduce familial conflict by up to 35%. 5. From wounding to healing, building the bridge back. The mother-son bond doesn't have to remain fractured. Jung believed that every shadow contains a hidden treasure. By facing the unconscious wounds that cause pain, we can find paths toward understanding, respect, and renewed connection. Consider Tom and Susan. Tom, overwhelmed by career pressures, often ignored his mother's messages. Susan, hurt, intensified her efforts, texting and visiting unannounced. The conflict reached a peak when Tom exploded. "You're suffocating me." Susan, devastated, began to reflect. She realized her actions stemmed from her fear of losing her identity as a mother. Through journaling, boundaries, and small honest conversations, they began to repair. Tom apologized. "I was overwhelmed. I didn't mean to hurt you." Susan joined a book club, gave him space, and focused on her own joy. Their monthly dinners became rituals of mutual respect. Practical tools inspired by Jungian therapy include healing letters, writing, but not necessarily sending, a letter expressing the unsaid, regret, pain, love. Shadow journaling, recording emotional triggers and asking, what fear or belief is behind this? Boundary setting with love. Let's talk once a week becomes a container for closeness without suffocation. Self-reflection. Am I projecting something I need to face in myself? From hurt to wholeness. Why do sons hurt their mothers? According to Carl Jung, it's not because they stop loving them, it's because they are struggling to love themselves fully, struggling with dependence, fear, identity, and the inner shadow that remains unspoken. The mother complex, the shadow, projection, and individuation are not abstract theories. They play out in daily conversations, in unanswered texts, in harsh words, and in the silence that follows. But these forces, once understood, can be tools for healing. For sons, healing means facing their shadow and expressing their need for independence with honesty and compassion. For mothers, healing means recognizing the son's distance not as rejection, but as a painful form of growth, and responding with empathy and strength. Jung once said, "The greatest and most important problems of life are all fundamentally insoluble. They can never be solved but only outgrown." The pain between a mother and son is one such problem, not easily solved but profoundly transformed through growth, awareness, and love. So, what is your next step? If you're a son, maybe it's writing that healing letter or setting a boundary with gratitude. If you're a mother, maybe it's letting go with love and focusing on your own growth. Because in the end, as Jung taught us, the deepest wounds hold the greatest potential for transformation.